Welcome to another episode of the Waffle Shop podcast. Today, I'm finally joined by the incredible singer-songwriter, Tom Speight. I'm saying finally because this has been a long time coming. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
I think I reached out to you early in the year, maybe. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the podcast, and
Thank you.
I was hoping to kind of get into the studio and see you, but yeah, because obviously we're running up to kind of the album coming out in August. They keep on packing in more and more promo bits, which is it's great. But I always love kind of coming and meeting people in
Yeah.
person and stuff. But
Well, you'll be heading
yeah,
out on tour with the album, so hopefully we can get something lined up. You have to come back for a round two for
yeah,
a
yeah.
waffle.
And I'll give you a hug in person or something.
There we go. That's all that's all I do this for. It just,
It's
I just need
a
a
hug.
hug.
Yeah.
To be fair, which it all sounds really nice. We're talking about like the tours and like hugs and stuff like that. However, I do start each one of my shows with something called the weekly waffle, which is something obviously minor that gets on my nerves. So once I've spoken about it, it makes me feel that little tiny incy wincy bit better. And what really winds me up, Tom, almost it's wound me up for quite some time, is people who ask questions on social media that they could have quite easily have Googled. Things like
Oh,
opening
yeah.
times,
Yeah,
and I think it's just intention seeking.
yeah. Well, isn't that social media though in general? Just like it's just one big
Yeah.
attention seeking thing.
Do you know what?
Like
Yes.
I always this is maybe totally relate to what you're saying about opening times and all that stuff because normally in with my job it's basically like Tom mate when are you on, what's your stage time, and it's like I literally have posted 5 times saying today stage time, all of this stuff, 9 o'clock, all of this stuff, but it's yeah, I think so. You can social media can be kind of stressful, kind of, and it can. I think the worst thing about it sometimes I've learned to cope with it a bit more. It's like it can actually trigger your day. Like you can see something you don't like, and
100%.
all of these kind of things. And
Do you have a set time when because I always try my hardest for like the first hour of my day not to check social media because I used to be in this real toxic habit of like as soon as I wake up, the first thing I would check would be Instagram. Like I haven't
I
even
can,
wiped like my eye bogies out yet
yeah,
in the morning,
yeah.
but there I am checking social
Um,
media.
so I did this thing. I got for Christmas. I got a Walkman. And you're wondering
That's on the past.
why is this man child that is in front of me getting a Walkman? And the reason I got a Walkman is because I started going to the gym and stuff, trying to be my best version of myself. And
Respect that.
yeah, so I started going to the gym, and I found myself still checking my phone on the gym, even because I was just
Mm.
listening to music, but I'd still, I'd want to skip a song or something like that. And I find myself checking emails, social media, all of this stuff. So I was like, I'm going to get a Walkman and basically leave my phone at home and make a mixtape, all of these kind of things. I've basically been trawling through eBay over the last couple of months, just buying sets that remind me of my childhood, like like now
Love that.
compilations and
Yeah.
I normally try and go to the gym first thing in the morning. So that is kind of my way of not checking my phone instantly. And I've got a neighbor who I've become quite good friends with. And he's actually the cousin of my manager as well, which is weird. It's kind of strange,
Oh
like,
wow.
well,
Yeah.
coming like together. But so he's kind of an early bird. He likes to go to the gym about 6:45 in the morning, and that's just not me. Like, I think the earliest normally I would get up is 8. So yeah, not at the moment. I put my Walkman on if he's not there or if he is there, and I've been trying to get up really early and hit the gym and not check my phone. But I think it is. It's just like that default thing, isn't it? When you get on the train,
Mhm.
you're just like on your phone, see who's what's up and all that kind of stuff. And
It's just so easy, isn't it? It's just
it's
like,
so easy. Yeah.
but then it's like that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
the more you kind of look down, you're missing out on these some incredible views from the train. imagine there's some
Yeah,
not so nice views. I mean, I'll get the train from
yeah,
Coventry sometimes. So
yeah.
it's a beautiful place this time of year. Is there
Yeah,
anything?
I was in Coventry actually on the weekend.
What?
Yeah. I was playing basically. I since the pandemic, I started doing these things. They're called well, they're called house concerts, which you'll know
Yeah,
about. But I started doing these things. You remember when Boris did that thing of 30 people in a garden?
yeah.
Yes. So I basically took advantage of that. I was like, 30 people in a garden, that's a gig. And, I go and play someone's garden. Anyway, so I did that on the last record and I really enjoyed it. And I saw it a way of kind of trying out new songs, getting match fit for tour and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I was playing like a fan's house concert in Coventry on the weekend on Saturday.
What?
So yeah. So now in Coventry was looking mighty beautiful and the sun and all
To be
that kind
fair,
of
yeah,
stuff. So yeah,
to be fair, it was a good weekend to be in Coventry, and we had obviously the Godiva Festival on
yeah,
as well. I mean, I didn't go to it.
yeah,
I had a wedding, so I
yeah,
had to miss that out. But yeah, no, that's weird. I mean, I
yeah,
respect that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, we just I just love playing live, and whether it's a couple of thousand people or a house concert to 50 people,
yeah,
I just see it as like you've just got to really value that people want to listen to your songs, whether that's 50 people or 1,000, whatever. Really, I
yeah.
feel very lucky to kind of just to be doing music. Really,
Um, I love hearing these kind of stories now, and I want to dive into your journey because I've had people on the show who've said that they've listened to, like a certain song or an album, or they went to see someone live, or they fell in love with an instrument, and that kind of kick-started their musical journey. How did this all start for you?
so I would say the first song that I ever truly fell in love with, I was probably 8 years old,
Hmm.
and it was Oasis, "Live Forever." Um,
Strong start.
Yeah, it was a very strong start. And I was, obviously when you're that age, you're not really thinking, oh, is this the coolest song I could fall in love with or anything. You just fall in love with it because you love it. And that discovered that song on Now 33, which
So
was,
specific.
you get, if you think about now, for the Now compilations, there's like, what, 40 songs on there. And yeah, that was the song that resonated with me the most. And weirdly enough, about that compilation as well, there was two Oasis songs on it. There was "Don't Look Back in Anger" and Oasis "Live Forever." And that's quite weird for now. I don't think they normally do that, but that was the first song. And then I think the first time I got truly inspired when I saw a live artist was Damien Rice. Yeah,
Wow.
and with Damien
Cannonball is
Rice,
still
it
one
was
of my all-time favorites.
yeah. Well, he that album changed everything for me, and I think also the biggest kind of thing about it was the fact that he had this like um, vocal interplay with a female singer, which was Lisa Hannigan,
Mm.
and that kind of basically has forever inspired me to have always female vocals on my songs and stuff. And I actually wrote some songs with Lisa for my debut album, which was pretty cool. Um, so it's I think those that are Oasis, the Beatles. I'm a huge Beatles
Mm.
fan, huge Simon and Garfunkel fan, and this comes from like my mum and dad's record collection. Really, just like growing up with. I think I've always been a fan of like great songwriting and just timeless songs, and kind of I'm not really one to be kind of impacted by trends because like
Yeah.
when I was growing up, like it was the trend of like So Solid Crew or Corn, that metal kind of
Yeah.
era and all these kind
So
of
one extreme to the other,
whereas when
wasn't
I
it?
was like, yeah, it was like garage or metal, and I was like listening to David Gray, and then people with I think it was quite, even though I think David Gray is very cool, it was quite uncool at school to be like listening to some guy in his 30s kind of being very serious and but that's what kind of resonated with me and my journey of learning how to write songs and all these kind of things really.
Did the songwriting come before the singing? Because I've always find this really fascinating that how people know that they can sing.
Yeah, well, I don't ever see myself as a singer really. I think my singing is to deliver my songs. I think I could be quite happy in 10 years' time, kind of writing songs for the next One Direction and just
Yeah.
counting the cash. But no, I love um, writing songs and just, I'm forever inspired by whether it be having a conversation with you and then taking somebody from that conversation and then putting it in a song. All of my songs are kind of like diary entries of where I'm at, whether it being in a relationship with someone or coming out of a relationship with someone or having a phone call with my sister and then writing a song about that or whatever, chatting to my best mate about anything. It's like diary entries, and then I use my voice to kind of convey how I feel, because I feel like obviously I wrote those diary entries,
Yeah.
so maybe I should deliver them. But I
If your
think
next
my favorite
single,
singers again.
it, if your next single is called
Yeah,
anything remotely related to waffles, I'm coming for you.
yeah. I was thinking about you as well with the Jonas Brothers as well. I was thinking
Dude, I'm
you
having a
need to do
very
a collab.
difficult court case battle with them at the minute, which I'm not allowed to.
I can't work out if you're being serious on it. Yeah,
No,
but
definitely not serious.
yeah, no, you'd be the fourth Jonas brother, which is you could do that, can you? But
Yeah,
yeah, my favorite singers aren't necessarily Whitney Houston singers. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
They're like singers that with attitude and just emotion really. And I'm
yeah,
not saying that Whitney Houston doesn't have emotion, because I've covered one of her songs. I love her music, but like Liam Gallagher he's a rock star.
yeah,
I don't think you wouldn't, if he was on the X Factor, would he get through? I don't know, but he is. When I was a kid, I literally would walk around the room wanting to be him, and I
yeah.
think that's what makes him a rock star. Um, so yeah, and Bob Dylan again. Just a songwriter who delivers his songs via his voice. And it's this is what makes great artists. Really, there's loads of great singers out there, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a great artist.
No, I don't think I've ever heard it in that term before. Because obviously, I have a lot of obviously singer songwriters and stuff
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
show, but to hear it in a way that like the singing is just delivering your words is
yeah,
is
yeah.
it's quite a powerful take on the whole kind of, I guess, the music in general. You mentioned about them kind of like being like diary entries for yourself.
Mm.
Like, has the music side of things helped you be more in touch with your emotions?
Yeah, I think I've always been a bit of a soppy git. I think
Yeah.
I've always been a bit like that. I've got three sisters, and I don't know if it's having like a strong female presence while growing up, but I've always been quite sensitive without sounding
Yeah.
like a wet fart. Is it a wet
No,
fart?
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll go with it. But
yeah,
I
a
was the
wet
same.
fart.
I still live with my younger sister, and I
Yeah.
was raised by my mom, and
Mm.
I've had strong like women like kind of role models throughout my life. So I completely get that.
I think it's healthy as well to be in touch with your emotions. I think for me it's always just been like it's just a way of dealing with things, and songwriting has been like the biggest kind of way of coping with things really, whether it's because I've had a lot of health problems and being in the hospital for a long amount of time and stuff, and it's the first thing I turn to is my guitar to
Yeah.
kind of release whatever's going on really.
Do you know what? I love this because I'm all for everyone having some kind of outlet. I mean, I say it all the time, but like I have no musical out kind of talent whatsoever. But sometimes when I'm having like a real horrendous day, like this morning is one of those mornings for me. But I
Yeah.
know for a fact when I have like a recording and I'm sat in front of the microphone having this kind of conversation, it's just what I need because it's an outlet. It's kind of I'm talking to
Yeah.
someone who I respect, who I listen to their music, and it kind of gives me that kind of reassurance that I'm not on my own. kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
so regardless if it's a guitar, whether it's going for a run, you know, a, an entry in your journal, having that an outlet can really make or break kind of like your day.
Well, it's your kind of meditation, isn't it? It's
Mm.
like your kind of like it's just you kind of almost cleansing yourself of like stuff that's going on, and it's kind of like I think it's like that. I think if you've got whether it's sewing or swimming or football or any music or whatever you like to do, I think it's just like I feel super blessed that I get to do this as a job.
Yeah.
That is crazy to me. And every day I think how lucky I am to kind of just be making music, man, and talking to people like yourself and just it's not, it's just baffling to me that this is what I do and I don't take it for granted. And I think, you meet a lot of people that are unhappy in their jobs. And I think until I used to work at Marks and Spencer's and like in my phone, I had it as shithole. In my phone, it's like it literally was in my phone because I love Marks and Spencer's supermarket, but I was 60 6 a.m. was my start of my shift, and it was just I hated it. So I just feel blessed that I'm not working there at the minute, and
Yeah.
that I can carry on making music and just yeah, it's just a wild journey of just really really happy really to be doing it.
Was it a difficult thing to make that jump? Because I mean, there's a lot of people who I talk to, not necessarily on the podcast, but like kind of offline,
Yeah,
about that kind of fear of getting out of the comfort zone, whether it's, quitting the job and trying something new or getting out of the relationship or even asking someone out. What made that kind of jump for you?
I think I never had a B plan. Like it was just always music, and I think I didn't have a record deal until I think I just turned 30 when I got a
Yeah.
record deal, which is old. It's old
Well,
you think
I don't know.
about it's. I don't think of it as that
Yeah.
old because actually it was the right time. Like I was at a
Yeah.
place to get it. Um, but I've been
In
doing.
terms of the music industry, that's
Yeah,
kind
I
of,
felt like
yeah,
it
yeah.
was like the right time, and I hit it at the right time, and I worked for it, and it was. I felt like I was in a good, strong position to get that record contract.
Yeah.
But I've been doing music for like 10 years, probably leading up to that. Of trying to make it, whatever that is, and I think it was always. I didn't have like a second option. Like I used to date a girl, and her mum. I got offered a job as a like a school teacher teaching music, and at that time I was unsigned, but I was a year away from releasing my first song that I really believed in. I just recorded these set of songs that would land me to get a record contract. And she was like, "Aren't you tired of chasing this Peter Pan existence?" Her mum said this,
Wow.
and I was like, "Nah, no." I was like, "No, trust me. In a year's time, it's going to go off." I don't know why, but I had this real self belief,
Yeah.
and it did. We went to number one in Brazil, and
Yes.
and it was baffling. And I saw the girl actually, and she's a lovely girl. I saw her a couple of months later, like a couple of years later, and she said, "I'm still the same guy. I'm just a bit richer." And like, it's kind of like a funny fu to her
Yeah.
because I think you only live once, and I'm not saying that in an arrogant way of being like I'm going to make it or anything like this. It's just like for me personally, like when you've had like a chronic illness and you've nearly died, like your outlook changes on life. Like my outlook is like I'm literally going to smash the shit out of this because it's so fragile life, and it's like you've got to make the most of it. And yeah, I could get a job as being a school teacher and teaching guitar, and that's brilliant. But at this current stage, I've got these songs, and I want to get these songs out there, and I want people to hear these songs. I've got plenty of time, if I do want to go become a teacher and and do that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm just super thankful that I didn't have egg on my face and it backfired. And I'd be like, yeah, you know,
Do you know what though? Even if it did, there's something very remarkable about following a passion and kind of seeing it through. Because, and to be fair, I would not be sat on this kind of podcast now without having that kind of real painful experience and that those fears and those self-doubts and stuff like that. And I'm thinking like, no, that's not what I want to do. I deserve more. And I
yeah,
think we're both now in a position where we're sat here having this conversation better for kind of pushing past the self-doubt,
yeah,
navigating the. If there is anyone listen to this who is struggling with like their kind of like self-doubt, or they're
yeah.
not quite where they need to be in terms of like self-belief, what advice would you give them?
I think as long as I think it's unhealthy to stay in something that you don't love. I think the moment you fall out of love with it and take it, you're not enjoying it, that's when you should probably think. And if it's damaging to yourself, then I think you should, reassess things. But for me, music was, it's always been my dream. Like it took, if you think about it like this, if someone said to you, you're not going to make any money from this job until 10 years in, no one would do it. Yeah. So like I was like, people could have seen me throughout my whole of my 20s as like a fool for like pursuing this wild chase. But this wild chase was something I loved. Like it was everything to me. And I'd still, if I wasn't releasing records on a label or anything like that, I'd still be writing songs every day or weekly, because that's just what I do. It's like, it's a part of who I am. But I think if you love something, you should, I think anything that you love is worth fighting for. And that's it really. I think it's just something you do. It's who you are. Like, that's it.
Yes, massive respect for that. I want to, I mean, obviously, if you're okay with it, obviously, I know you've done a lot of work recently with Crohn's and colitis,
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
through
yeah,
your own experience. Obviously, I don't know this, so obviously feel free to
yeah. Go
share
for it, man.
whatever you feel comfortable with. But you mentioned it like throughout kind of the the chat so far.
Yeah.
Um, what happened then to get to that point where you nearly died, as you said?
Well, so yeah, that's it. No one's actually really asked me that, which is I think people, when you do these like media interviews and stuff, you kind of people you don't want to, I suppose, bring people down. You want to be positive and all these kind of things, and say, look, I've got this thing and I'm all right. And
Yeah.
there definitely is that side of it. But the 4 years I had, so I got Crohn's when I was like 19, and I had an emergency operation when I was like 23 or 24 or something. For like 4 or 5 years of basically having Crohn's and being kind of just lost in it, really, like in the
Yeah.
wilderness of having chronic disease and not really knowing how to manage it, how to be healthy, how to get on top of it, and all these kind of things. And my Crohn's was in such a bad state that I basically, my bowel perforated, and I had septicemia, and I had my appendix out, and I was like 20 minutes from die. It was all really scary.
Wow.
And I had basically, the surgeon guy was like, we need to operate, otherwise you're going to die, and you're going to have a stoma, which is, if people don't know what a stoma is, most people would, I suppose, know it as a bag or something like
Yeah.
that. I don't really like that term, because I know it as a stoma. And yeah, I've had it, and I've had quite a few operations since. I've had like a halfway reversal, which is kind of like I still have a stoma, but I don't have like an in-loss and have a colostomy. It's all very
Yeah.
medical, this kind of bit. Yeah, I've had it for like 10 years, and it's become, I think the amazing thing about humans is like they're very like adaptable and they're resilient, and I think to an element, all people really want is to survive and be happy and healthy. And for me, the stoma and has enabled me to do that, really, is to kind of give me a lease of life, and just, yeah, to take on life and to do my job really. You know, if you think back as well, when I'm telling these stories about me trying to get a record deal, my 20s were largely battling with Crohn's and
Yeah.
having operations and all this kind of stuff. So when I get to 30, I've got this life experience of, you know, everything that's happened over the last 10 years to write songs about, and, you know, to have the work ethic to believe that, you know, you need to put work into it because this is something you love and it's like, it matters. And I think if I was maybe 21 and I had a record deal at 21, I probably wouldn't have. I would have taken it a little bit for granted, maybe.
Mm.
And Crohn's and all that kind of stuff, and having the stoma has made me not take anything for granted because, you know, it's just, life is so fragile, really. So
Do you know what, though?
yeah,
I have so much respect for it, and it's not the same situation at all, but I get all my inspiration from my mom. She's now in a neurological care home
oh
because
wow,
life completely changed in a matter of hours. And
yeah,
it's almost that kind of like, it's a massive middle finger to kind of that way of life that could have so easily been. The fact that as humans, we have this ability to kind of get up and have that resilience, like, no, like, I'm not going to be defined by that, and have that kind of appreciation for
yeah,
life itself, and to be like, no, I'd like, and I think regardless of what you're going through, you can have that real sense of like, you do deserve more. It doesn't stop you. You can still fulfill like a happy life. And, you know, you mentioned earlier on, they saying like, you know, sometimes you didn't want it to sound arrogant and stuff. I don't
yeah,
think it does. I think it's, you've got such a zest for life when you go through something like that, because you almost get a taste of, well, this could have been it. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I could not be here. And
Mm.
to have that kind of like, well, no, like I need more. I want more. I deserve more. Is so refreshing to hear, because, you know, the bad things need to happen sometimes for us to appreciate the good, which I
Yeah.
think in this day and age, it's very easy not to appreciate the good and to focus on the bad. And, you know, it's quite a horrible place to be in, but to navigate out of that and to have, well, the incredible music that you have now because of it, like,
Yeah.
it's, you've got to keep going.
Yeah, you're totally right. I think as well, you realize as well, there's people out there that are going through a far worse situation than you're going in through, and I think, you know, everyone's got their own. You know, I'm so sorry to hear about your mum. You know, their own thing, and I would never have known that. And I think you we're all kind of caught up on our own thing and living on our own heads and all this stuff, and you just, it's, this is why it's good for us to talk, because you
Mhm.
realize, like, you know, this is what it's about, isn't it? Just sharing stories and kind of realizing that you're not alone, whether it being everyone's going through something, you know. And I think that's why, if you stay within yourself and you just harbor all these thoughts, you can feel quite alone, really. And that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of come out with having a stoma. Really, I had it for, you know, 10 years before I even started opening up about it to like a wider circle outside of my friendship group, because when I'd go to the charity events for Crohn's and Colitis UK, I would realize, actually, you know, people are really scared about having surgery and all these kind of things. And then that's why I would say to them, I've got a stoma. It's all right. It's going to be fine. Anytime you want to chat, let me know. And I got a really great feeling, because then they would reach out a couple of weeks later, these people I've been speaking to, and say, thank you so much for the other week. I feel so much lighter. And I'd be like, actually, that gave me a similar feeling to, you know, when people say, Tom, I really like your song that you wrote about so and so, whatever. And that feeling, and that's why I'm, you know, if you know, I imagine there's probably a lot of people on the internet thinking, will he just shut up about Crohn's and all that kind of
No,
stuff? And
never.
I get that, but I think I get it. I think, you know, with the community that I'm in, with, you know, my cronies,
I like
I think it's
that.
important. Yeah, I think it's important. Yeah, the my favorite one's the Attack of the Crones. If you're having a flare up like Star Wars style, um, but yeah, I think it's really important that, you know, if you've been through something and you've got some positivity to share, and you've got a community of people that need to hear it, I think that's why I'm doing it, really.
No, I respect it so much, and I'm gonna completely champion everything that you just said because I wouldn't be sat here having this conversation if it wasn't for that kind of attitude. So we've got to keep
Yeah.
going.
You know,
It'd be rude of me, to be fair, to have you on the show and not talk about Love and Light, the brand new album out in August.
yeah.
Tell me about it because I feel like the anticipation up to releasing a new album, I feel like is there a lot of mixed emotions before it's released everywhere?
Yeah, it's you know what's really weird about this whole thing as well is like I've been doing a lot of interviews recently, and I try and stay away from like being too pushy of promoting an album. Um because it's and I haven't really learned how to talk about the album yet. Because but we're building up closer and
Mm.
closer to releasing it in August. And um as I've lived with the album, because I actually handed this album in 9 months ago, because what happens with
Wow.
the way the record industry is working at the minute is for me to get my album on vinyl, I need to submit it 9 months
Yes.
before for it to be ready for release day. So it's kind of crazy, but I think this album is the best one I've done, and not in an arrogant way. Just in sense of like, I just think I've come a long way since I started making music, and I think it's I think people, whether you like my music or not, there'll be something for everyone to kind of latch onto. Whether you're into like the sensitive singer-songwriter stuff, or you want a bit of indie stuff, or if you want a bit of like ambient chill out stuff, there's something for everyone in there. And I think it will hopefully take me to a next stage in my career where I have like bucket list goals of where I want to be in music. And I think this record could potentially take me to that element. And that's because I feel like, not because it's more commercial or anything like that. I just think some of the songs, particularly there's like two or three songs that I believe are like the best songs I've ever written.
Wow.
And that's because I there's a song called Wonderful Wonder, which is like, for me, it's a song, the weird thing is, when people say, oh, I wouldn't listen to my own music, but this song, the Wonderful Wonder one, I would actually listen to it. Like, it's something I could happily listen to it now. Like, I love it. I'm really proud of it. And I just think it's going to be a song that will be in my set for years to come. Like, it
Yeah.
just feels like I'm something I just want to shout through the rooftops about. And I just can't wait for everyone to hear the album and for it to tour it. With the pandemic stuff of the second record, the last album, I didn't really get to tour it properly. And with this record, I'm going to Brazil again in October. I'm doing a big UK tour. I'm hopefully going to Europe next year as well. So I feel like, I just itching to get
You're
ready,
ready
man.
for it. You're ready
Yeah,
for
I'm
it
ready.
now.
I'm literally pumped. I've been trying to get in the gym and just get super strong. Because I'm going to be playing a longer set list for tour and stuff, and I just want to just give it my all and just really just do the songs justice.
I think you will. Of course you will. There's a lot, especially the feeling I got from especially the songs that are not the singles that are kind of coming out ahead of the album. I'm getting this real sense of like euphoria. Like I feel
Yeah,
like they're allowing me to disconnect from everything that's going on around me. And I have this weird thing with music where if a song doesn't kind of take me somewhere else, I can't listen to it. It's not that I can't listen to it. It's just kind of like, I don't know. It puts me in a weird kind of headspace. Whereas, especially the songs that you're releasing at the moment, they do that for me. They give me that little bit of headspace and kind of, it's nice to kind of feel someone else's journey for a little kind of
yeah.
while, like for like 3, 4 minutes. And you do it incredibly well.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, I think as the songs release more and more, they get more and more positive as well, which is there's just I just think that it's a really hopeful album in some ways, and there is a bit of that's the reason it's called Love and Light, is because there is a bit of darkness in there, but there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. But it's that saying, isn't it? Like shines brightest in the darkness.
Yeah. But it's just there's yeah, I'm excited. But do you know what? I'm going to send you a copy when I finally receive the vinyl.
Stop it. Stop
I
it.
still haven't received it. I still haven't got it. It's like,
Could we waited
but
9 months?
yeah,
It'd be
I'm
quicker to have a
hoping.
baby.
Yeah. I could have had a baby at this time. Yeah, that's what is that. That's, I've never thought about it like that. But yeah, have a baby. It's quicker than producing an album. But yeah, I should get a copy first week of August. So I'll send you one.
Amazing. No, that's exciting. Obviously you mentioned there about like the tour and heading off to Brazil. I've had like a few guests come on and say like, do you have any like before you head out on stage, is there like any kind of
Yeah.
like nerves or anything? Like how do you navigate that like that walk to the stage?
Oh, so that's a good question. I'm a pacer.
Okay.
So I'm literally, if before you catch me 2 minutes before a gig, and I'm like a greyhound, just fucking just
Just
shitting
sprinted.
myself. Yeah, just shitting myself. Not in the sense of like, do you know what? It's me releasing energy and trying to just get.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm almost when I do a gig, I'm almost feel like I'm going into like a boxing ring or something. You know, I'm really like pumped and super like aware and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it is a mad process. Like I think that's what I said about not taking things for granted and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And like every gig to me, I'm going through that process. If I do a TV performance or a radio performance, anything like that, I'm still getting that kind of like, oh, come on,
Yeah.
that feeling. I think that when that goes away is maybe when I think, oh, I know, okay, I need to take a step back for a second, realign my thought process and realize, no, you need to be in that mindset because I think it's all its way of kind of basically getting me mentally prepared for that show. And I think
Yeah.
if I'm not in that space where I'm not pumped and all these kind of things, then I'm probably a bit like, I don't want to be like, going into a gig like I'm like, waiting in a queue for a coffee. I want to be like
Yeah.
feeling like there's an urgency for me to get out there and, sing these songs to the people.
But to be fair, that in
Um,
itself just knows that you're doing the right thing. Because I feel like if you didn't believe in it, or if you thought like, oh, I can't really be bothered, and so to be fair, you've already said it in the episode. But like, I think having that adrenaline and that kind of rush tells you that is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. And it also the feeling of like, how many times during the day do you get goosebumps from something? Or, it's a weird thing with like gigs, you get goosebumps. You, sometimes I felt getting emotional about things and you're laughing all the time when you've got your pit, like your stage banter and all this stuff. It's just like a whirlwind of emotions, really.
You know, the last time I got goosebumps was probably about an hour ago when I listened to Aftermath.
No way. Shit. Oh
Yep.
man. That song is like it's a full on it's a sad song, man. It's a sad song, but it's like it's so cool in the
Yep.
sense of like the production on it and the backing vocals. It's like kind of eerie, but it's kind of like a hug as well. It's like it's a weird
Everything that you want in a
yeah.
song.
Go listen to it now, guys. If you're listening to
Listen to Aftermath.
yeah, just
Honestly, it's stunning. It's such an incredible kind of. It really does take you on a journey, and yeah, and the goosebumps never lie. So, well done. What song needs to be playing to get Tom on the dance floor?
oh good. That's a good one. That's a good one. God, I should be prepared for this.
There's a reason why I don't ask. I don't send
Yeah,
these
yeah,
over because
yeah,
I
yeah.
like to see the sweat.
Oh, because I've been to quite a few weddings recently, and I'm trying to think what gets me on the dance floor. God, you're so annoying, man. You should have given me a briefing of this. Um, what is it? Uh, do you know what? All that's coming, there's a couple of songs that are coming to my mind, and it's that September one, but I don't know who the artist is.
Earth, Wind and Fire.
But yes, God,
I mean,
yeah,
I can't believe you forgot.
no, I had a mental blank. All I can think is my movement to that song as some form of like,
Do you have a go-to dance move?
yeah, you know, as you can see by this latest video coming out of Trick of the Light, which comes out on the 7th of July, my dance moves are to be desired.
They're sharp. They look sharp.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, oh gosh, yeah, I'm gonna go with that song.
I mean, it's a straight to strong song.
Mr. Brightside Killers as well.
Classic.
It's a good one. It's not really a dance, but it's more of like it gets you like running to the dance floor, you know?
It does. And you know what? I have a bit of a bone to pick with that song. And I don't know why, but I never remember learning the words to Mr. Brightside. But for some
Yeah.
bizarre reason, it's like I've come out the womb and I know
No,
every word.
well, it does a clever thing, which Wonderwall does by Oasis as well. It repeats the verse again, and it's only got one verse.
Oh
Do you know
my
what I mean?
God.
So coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine I think I might be wrong. I think it's the next verse. And Wonderwall's the same. Is like a lot of that second Oasis album? He wasn't writing second verses because they were like half finished songs that he
Yeah.
recorded.
So on the flip side of that, is there a song or an album that kind of pulls the emotion out of you?
Yes. Okay, I'm thinking back to dance floors. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you remember the song Leanne Rimes, How Do I Live?
Without
How do I
you.
live? Yeah, Leanne Rimes takes me back to being about, yeah, how do I live? 11 years old, school dance, asking a girl called Lucy to dance with me, and me feeling like life never get better than this.
Oh.
And hearing that song and being teleported to being a shy 11-year-old. And yeah, there's so much like, I don't know, it just conjures up all these kind of emotions. It's weird, man.
I
I
love how
don't
music
even
does
really like the
this.
song,
It's
but
like a first dance song.
I listened to it the other week. It came on the radio, and I was like, yeah, but I wouldn't have never have that as my wedding song. But yeah, it just gets weird
It's a good one.
being a
Good
kid. I
one.
think almost things when you're a teenager, I think your emotions are so heightened, aren't they?
Well, they're all over the
And
shop.
everything hits a bit higher. Yeah,
So I
great.
have one final question for you. And be as critical as you want here. But is there a song that if you were to
Okay.
put into a box and kind of wrap it in chains, kick it to the bottom of the sea, never hear it again, what song would it be?
Oh, can it be? Can it be a novelty song?
Yeah, it can be anything that you don't want to hear again. Something
Okay.
like, Is This the Way to Amarillo?
I don't mind that song actually. I don't mind it. Oh God, I'm trying to think over the years what songs have really griped me. Uh, God, there's a couple. There's a couple actually. I'm gonna be. Uh, there's. Do you know what songs get on my nerves? It's like the Crazy Frog era of music.
It's,
Do you
do you know
remember?
what? It's the one that is on everyone's lips as soon as I answer that question straight away. Is Crazy Frog.
Yeah, those songs and novelty songs like the Mr. Blobby, Teletubbies. When all of these songs went to number one,
What about Bob
you
the
know,
Builder?
Bob, I don't mind that. At least that's got a bit of a tune. Bloody hell. No,
Well,
thank you so much for chatting to me, man.
no, it genuinely, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I wish you nothing but luck with the album. I don't think you're going to need it, but best of luck with the album. Because from what I've heard already, it's incredible. And to hear kind of like the journey so far, like I'm only like more of a fan than what I was before. So thank you so much for joining me for a waffle.
No, no, thank you, man. It's been really, really nice to chat, and I reckon I've waffled for the last hour.
That's what you
And
here for.
whoever made it to the end of this podcast as well, Yeah, whoever made it to the end, I salute you.